council meeting. I'll call the regular council meeting of Monday, July the 22nd to order. There is one late item to be introduced. It is to be introduced in the consent agenda, and that is a letter of request for a letter of support for the Vancouver Foundation's BIPOC level grant leadership Indigenous community programming. So that will go into the consent agenda under item C. What is that? 13, I guess it would be, behind the Hope Air letter. Oh, yes. What I'll do is, thank you for asking. When we get to the consent agenda, I'll have that one item pulled. We'll discuss everything else, and then we'll ask you to leave the chambers. Thank you very much. All right. So with that late item, can I have a motion to approve the agenda? Councillor Adey, Councillor Randhawa. Is there anything else that you want to change on that? All in favor? Any opposed? It's carried. So before we go into the rest of the meeting, I just want to do a couple of sort of housekeeping items here. My desk is starting to be surrounded with awards. Not for me. They just happen to come sit at my desk. This one is one that we received at NCLGA, and it's a Community Leadership Award, proudly presented to the City of Prince Rupert in recognition of the city's innovative approach to economic development. And that we received at the NCLGA conference, so that can be found a home somewhere down there. Also, for Watson Island, this is from the BC Economic Development Association, and it's an Economic Recovery and Resiliency Award 2023-24 for communities less than 20,000 population, and this is for the work that's done on this category includes submissions for programs, activities, and projects that represent a successful recovery initiative from natural and man-made disasters, including the loss of a major employer, housing and labor shortages, as well as submissions that represent replicable measures undertaken to promote long-term resiliency and sustainability from future disasters. And so we're very proud of the work that our staff have been doing in those arenas. And of course, the politicians get to collect the awards, but it's the staff that do the work. I also received a note from CAMA, which is the Canadian Association of Municipal Administrators, congratulating Dr. Robert Buchan on 30 years of service. And I understand that you were feted at the conference recently.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think that's called the Survival Award.
And while I'm at it, I would like to make an announcement for the community with regards to Dr. Buchan and staffing and other things. Dr. Buchan came to us a few years ago on a contract for what we knew would be a limited period of time. We are now moving into his final year with the City of Prince Rupert. He will be ending his employment on July the 2nd of next year. So we're in the countdown. And based on recommendations from him and myself and work that council's done, council has already determined a succession plan for Dr. Buchan's departure. We are in the enviable position of having a number of our staff who are more than capable of stepping into that senior role. And with the advantage of time, we can actually prepare that way better than most municipalities ever get a chance to do. And so tonight it's my pleasure to announce that Director Richard Pucci will be the next city manager. He will be working as the deputy city manager in the interim, working alongside Dr. Buchan, which means we will backfill, which we needed to do. We were looking for a position. There's so much infrastructure work going on that we needed to backfill a position anyway that would assist Richard in looking after Rupert's many projects. And so what we are doing is we're going to take that position up a grade so that that position will be a backfill to Richard as he moves towards the job. And like I said, I've been in this situation both with the city and in other circumstances where you have to replace the top person. I always have advocated for looking to at least entertaining outside candidates. In this case, it's my opinion, it's been backed up by council, that we have the talent in the building, and that it would be a false exercise to involve a headhunter and do a search and whatever when we have the talent in the building. So with that, I want to congratulate you, Director Pucci, and thank you, Dr. Buchan, for the service you've rendered over 30 years, and let you know that we fully intend to bleed you dry in the next 11 and a half months. All right. With that, we will move on to the agenda. Councillor Cunningham.
I just want to, I know you thank the staff for those awards, but those awards come from, the past council and the staff that supported that past council with Watson Island, the rejuvenation. When some of us got on council 10 years ago, Watson Island was bleeding us dry. And through our CFO, who was, asked to speak at UBCM about legacy and things like this, through our other staff, Director Miller and especially Director Pucci, who oversaw all the remediation and that out there and created almost a new type of way of remediating large industrial sites and that with MOE and that all those wards, but better still, financially got this town back on its feet. And since then we've got the RBA and other things and the big grants, but without even thinking of them, they were in the distant future. Though the rejuvenation of Watson Island was something that we have another source of income with that legacy that was unheard of with any other municipality in BC or Canada, and they were thinking out of the box. And it came from our staff, even though, like you say, the politicians get the credit. But I say, hat off to our staff for what they did the last 8 years.
Yeah, well said. I absolutely agree, and I absolutely agree with your comment about previous councils, previous mayor, previous council. There was a vision there that was pursued, and these things don't just happen by themselves. They don't. I know people sometimes think they do. These things do not happen by themselves. There's a lot of work, and there's a driving force behind them. And Director Vendatelli also deserves mention in the middle of all that. All right, with that, we have the agenda in front of you. It's approved. So now we move on to resolutions, recommendations from Committee of the Whole. So we have, from the Committee of the Whole, those, I don't think we need to do anything with the strategic plan update, but we did have the recommendation that items 2 through 7 be approved. So I would entertain a motion here to actually accept the recommendation from the Committee of the Whole that 2 through 7 be approved as, thank you, Councillors Adie and Randawa. All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. We are now public comment on any item that is on the agenda this evening. You are more than welcome to come forward and speak to council and comment on any item that's on the agenda this evening. Mr. Saka.
Hello, my name is Terry Saka. I'm a resident of Prince Rupert, have been since 1960. I've got a couple items questions I have. In a lot of the presentations, when there's changes or amendments to bylaws and stuff like that, the only reference or information is by the file number. Is it possible that that could be expanded to be more descriptive of what the intent of the bylaw or the amendment is? Because last council meeting, it was running late, and
Yeah.
there was
Okay.
a slew of amendments and bylaw changes and so forth and so on. I went through very quickly, and nobody really had an idea what they were. They were just one bang, 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 bang.
A fair comment. I will make every effort I can to do that. Yeah. Fair comment. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. And the second item I have, since the subject was broached earlier with respect to the wetlands, is there any intent to,
But the wetlands not on this agenda.
well, it was discussed.
Sure, but not on this agenda. This regular meeting agenda. You're welcome to talk about anything you want that's currently unless staff correct me and it's on the Dr. Bucket.
Your worship, it was in the strategic plan, so I think that by extension, it's.
Oh, and transferring over. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll go there. All right, continue,
So my question on that is
Mr. Saw.
is there any intent for the city of Prince Rupert
Yep.
to inform people that there's going to be a sewage treatment plant built in Moresby Park? I have done some legwork. I've talked to people that own property on either side, and nobody in that area is aware of that there's a sewage treatment plant going to be built in Moresby Park.
So,
So what I'm asking, if I can finish.
Yep.
So what I'm asking, is it possible that council, the mayor, would entertain a public meeting where people would have an opportunity to voice their concerns and other questions at a meeting that I was invited to by staff, with Councillor Eddie and yourself and Mr. Pucci. There was several things were brought up. One was the other properties in town where they may be looked at to have sewage treatment plants built, and that Mr. Pucci was going to go to, I think he said Nova Scotia, to view a plant of similar type of process. But my main thing is, will the city entertain a meeting, a public meeting, where people can have a voice and concern? Because right now, nobody is aware of the fact that there's going to be a sewage treatment plant. The people at the Park Avenue campground that just put that up for campground for sale weren't aware of it, and neither is the Kikatla band that is right next door. There's people on Kootenai Avenue aren't aware of it. There's people in Moresby aren't aware of it.
so several things. One is there will be opportunity for public engagement. Secondly, it's not a sewage treatment plant. I think that would give people a very different picture of what it is. We're trying to avoid creating sewage treatment plants. Instead, we're doing a wetland treatment area that would be very, very different from what people visualize when they think sewage treatment. And thirdly, it won't be in Moresby Park. It will be adjacent to the park, but it will not be in Moresby Park. But yes, there will be an opportunity for public. That's the intent. It has been the intent all along.
Well,
There to be an intent for public engagement, opportunity for public engagement.
if you go to the Tourist Prince Rupert website, and where the proposed building of this site is, it is the Moresby Basin, as I call it, the Moresby Park area. Like, there's trails there. That's identified in the Tourist Prince Rupert video that they have of the trail that takes, according to them, roughly 26 minutes to come in from Park Avenue, walk all the way around, and come out on by Westview School. So it is part of the park area. That all used to be fenced in years ago.
It is, so I'm not going to get in back and forth.
No.
It's an opportunity for you to comment. You commented. There will be an opportunity for public engagement, and then people can see exactly where it is, and they'll understand that it's where the DND tanks were on the contaminated properties, right? So,
Okay, so that's going to happen.
yes,
Any idea when?
no.
Okay.
I mean, Director Pucci, did you have a comment? So
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will be coming forward at our next meeting with the comprehensive presentation on the findings, and we'll be welcoming council to ask questions and then setting up public consultation at the next meeting
Probably
in September.
probably next month sometime.
At
Like-
the next meeting, I'll be coming forward with the presentation, and
Yep.
then we will be asking council for feedback and to move forward with some public consultation. Thank you.
Okay,
thank you.
thank you.
All right. Is there anyone else? I don't see anybody else in the gallery that wants to come forward, but anybody is welcome to come forward, comment on anything that's on the agenda this evening. Not seeing a rush to the microphone. We'll move on. We have the consent agenda items. Mr. Saka, yes?
You corrected me that it's not a sewage treatment plant. I'm looking at this.
Well, I'm not going to get into a back and forth here.
You said it wasn't a sewage treatment plant. This is
Mr. Saka, I am not going to entertain a back and forth here in the council chambers. Thank you. You've had a chance to speak. You brought your comment. It's it's it
says sewer treatment plant.
the public comment time is over, and we're going on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda contains the following things. It's the minutes of the regular meeting, the committee of the whole, the special regular meeting from May the 22nd. It's got reports in there, request for a letter of support from NCHIS for the MRI, a request for a letter of support from Sweat Rebel, report from the Chief Financial Officer on financial variances, report from planning with regards to development activity, report from the fire chief with regards to monthly fire rescue information. There is correspondence. Thank you letter from Leicester Center of the Arts, a correspondence from BC Wildlife Service with regards to provincial wildfire update. There's a request for a proclamation for National Drowning Prevention Week, and a letter from Hope Air, as well as the late addition, which we will pull from the consent agenda. While if you have any other comments on any item that's on the consent agenda, this will be your time to speak to it. Councillor Forster.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to speak to 6B4, the MRI letter.
Yes.
So I wondered if that could, do you want me to talk about it? Or do you want to pull it
Absolutely,
and
you
talk?
can speak to it right now.
So just to specify, I'm not speaking as a healthcare worker. I'm speaking as a member of our community, just to make that clear. So while I support this in principle, my mind turns to Kitimat, which has had significant financial donations from a lot of different partners to pay for a CT scanner. And despite having that CT scanner fully funded, Northern Health has not budged or created a plan that has been shared with the community for quite some time to have that CT scanner implemented. And it's become, if you recall, several meetings ago, I referenced a retention plan that Northern Health looked at with their physicians and healthcare workers. And it was one of the items that was cited in that report that not having the CT scanner was impacting retention and recruitment for Kitimat. I worry, I still support us getting an MRI here in Prince Rupert, but the last sentence where it indicates that they're hopeful that this might help move Northern Health, I worry about community members getting their hopes up if Northern Health is not open to putting an MRI in our community. And I wonder if there's a way that we can still support this, but engage in conversations with Northern Health, keeping in mind this retention component, which is something we've been working on.
Councillor Cunningham, are you wanting to?
Okay, Councillor Forster and I talked about this on the weekend. I got a hold of people in Northern Health. They are on board for us having an MRI here. You got to realize that our hospital is a regional district hospital for the North Coast. Kitimat is just an ordinary hospital with an MRI less than 35, 40 minutes away. I mean a CT 35 or 40 minutes away, and a new trauma-3 hospital being built that will be open soon. What I got is that both Northern Health on the local level and from the upper levels would be in support of this, but it's something that's going to be 5-10 years in the future. They're going to have to do engineering studies and everything else to find a location to put it near the hospital and blah, blah, blah. We all know how slow it works. And then at the end of it, who knows? But the fact that we have a community initiative to do it, I think will help a lot in pushing it forward. The fact that we have a community that stands, we got our CT that way. We've got other projects that way through community involvement. And you have what was explained to me, the North Coast Regional Hospital that covers the North Coast, Haida Gwaii, and everything down, which is, we've got to start realizing our hospital is a regional hospital. It's not just another hospital on the map. And because of that, it gets a little more attention. It serves all the Indigenous communities up and down the coast. And, that's important to Northern Health as well. And Northern Health said they would be in support of this, but like they say, it's quite a ways down the road. But the fundraising, I don't know, $8, $10, $12 million, it's going to take a while to get that too. So by getting this fundraising in place now, we might be able to get it. But it's something that when I spoke to Northern Health today about, they seem to be in favor of it. So,
And my experience is the North Coast Health Improvement Society works very closely with Northern Health. They don't sort of run out and do things that won't be supported. Councillor Adie.
Just to follow up on that, I first of all, I'm 100% enthusiastic about the prospect of getting an MRI machine here. They're tremendously valuable diagnostic tools. They save lives, and I can think of very few things that are in one fell swoop a bigger improvement that we could bring to the hospital. That's not saying there aren't other things to do, but that one's an important one. So I'm in favor of it. I also want to point out that on a number of levels, through the historical work that Councillor Cunningham in particular has had a long dialogue with Northern Health on various levels, and that's of a great deal of value. But we're also establishing new parameters for conversation, particularly around recruitment and retention, and working towards doing what we can do to problem solve in those areas. So I think there is an open and I think expanding dialogue with Northern Health that I think can be a real asset in this initiative as well as in other areas of problem solving.
Thank you. Councillor Forster, do you have any other comment?
No, as I said, stand behind it, and if we have commitment from Northern Health that they're behind it, that makes this quite a bit easier.
Thank you. Any other comments on any of the items in the package, consent agenda? All in favor, can I have a motion, please, to approve the consent agenda? Councillor Forrester, Councillor Adey. All in favor? Any opposed? It's carried. We will deal with that one excluded other item. Yeah, Councillor Skelton Morven will leave the room because he is connected to the organization that have written this letter. Don't go very far, Councillor. Can you just close the door, though, please? Thanks. All right, you have a letter in front of you which requests support. It's an application to the Vancouver Foundation BIPOC level grant for leadership in Indigenous community programming. And it's there in front of you. It's signed off by the Vice Chair, Chief Operating Officer of the group that's looking for the Tsimshian Prosperity Society. Can I have a motion to approve that? Councillor Adey, Councillor Randhawa, any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? It's carried. Can you have Councillor Skelton Morven return, please? All right. We have reports. We have a report from the Director of Corporate and Legislative Services with regards to liquor license amendment patron participation entertainment endorsement application for the Crest, with the recommendation that we support the patron participation entertainment endorsement application for the Crest Hotel as requested. Can I have a motion to that effect? Councillor Randhawa, Councillor Skelton Morven, any discussion? Councillor Niche.
I was just curious as to what's different between this and the way it is existing.
I'm not sure that I can comment on it, but Director Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Presently, if you were to book the BC room or another room at the Crest, they can't. The liquor license is limited as to where they can serve the alcohol. Whether it's if you have an event in the harbor room, it has to be in the hallway, and then you can bring the drinks there, but you can't bring them in the room. So this is just to expand their liquor license so that you can have a food primary liquor license in all of their banquet rooms, so that accommodates other events in the facility.
All right. Any questions? Any more questions? All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. Report from the Chief Financial Officer with regards to the Northwest BC Regional Funding Agreement Reserve Bylaw number 3547, with a recommendation that Council consider the Northwest BC Regional Funding Agreement Reserve Bylaw number 3547. Can I have a motion to that effect? Councillors Skelton, Morven, and Niche. The report is clear, but this is what is creating the vessel that will hold the money that will come from the Resource Benefit Alliance agreement, roughly $6.8 million per year over the next 5 years. And this is what's required to do that. Any comments or questions? Councillor Niche.
I'm glad that we're moving forward with this a way to hold money, that we're actually getting a chance to hold the money. Let's just hope that it's not for only 5 years.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I'll speak to that later, but absolutely, we want to make sure it's for a lot more than 5 years. All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. We have a report from planning with regards to development variance permit number 2405 at 412 4th Avenue East, with a recommendation that Council proceeds with statutory notification process for development variance permit. DVP 2405 at 412 4th East. Councillor Niche, is there a second? Councillor Cunningham, any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. We have a report from planning with regards to 836 3rd Avenue West. A recommendation that Council proceeds with the statutory notification process for development variance permit 2406 for 836 3rd Avenue West. Can I have a motion to that effect? Councillors Adie and Councillor Forster. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. We have a report from the Director of Operations Intergovernment Relations with regards to the Capital Paving Award with a recommendation that Council awards RFQ PW 24053 Capital Paving to Adventure Paving / Terrace Construction. Can I have a motion to that effect? Councillor Randhawa, Councillor Adie. Any discussion? Councillor Adie.
I just had it's probably my own illiteracy, but I had some questions around the monetary figures on page 2, because I couldn't make them add up to the same total. There's a $1.37 million total is the bid, and then it refers to $728,000 for paving program, $272,000 for contingencies, and that leaves, according to the preamble, $649,000 for water capital projects. For example, Crestview and a couple of others are mentioned. I'm just not sure how the numbers resolve. I'm wondering if somebody can educate me.
Director Pucci.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did notice that, and so it is incorrect. So the remainder of the bid allocated towards water capital was $376,000. So there was my math wasn't correct in that. So thank you for catching that. I did catch it while I was rereading it here. So it does add up. The $1 million is on budget for paving, and we do have the $300,000+ for the capital paving that we see around town right now. That is in graveled areas will be paved as part of this program. Thank you.
Councillor Adie.
And just to follow up, since we're meeting on July 22nd, I'm wondering if there's a reason why we might not have established this decision a little bit earlier in the year to provide a little more good weather time.
Director Pucci.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So right now, Adventure Paving is not in town. They are paving over on Haida Gwaii. So they took that contract first quite a while ago before we were ready to put our contract out. So we put a September 31st deadline at the end of our contract, and they've said that they can handle all of our paving before September 31st. Thank you.
The paving is coming. Councillor Forster.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Adie had my two questions. My third question, so we're going to award them 1.3, that number. My question is, what happens if they go over?
Director
Does that
Pucci.
just come out of the surplus and then don't do those other projects, or is that on them if they go over? How does that work?
Director Pucci.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we will manage so that we don't go over. So what we'll end up doing is doing less paving. But typically what happens is we set the areas, and then after they get stripped, we do another quick review on how much bases need to be prepped. And that's usually where it takes a little bit more of the money. But at this point right now, we're not expecting to be over, but we can manage to make sure it's on budget internally. Thank you.
So said differently, Mr. Mayor, if I understand this correctly,
Yes.
in the past when we've used either of these companies, we've stayed on budget. Is that correct,
Yes.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes. It's Director Pucci, maybe you can restate it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we're able, once we're out paving, we're able to manage the areas so that we can stay on budget. So if we are spending more in one area because of trouble areas or trouble spots or more area of base that needs to be completed, then we will have to remove other areas in order to keep on budget. So it is manageable internally.
So we protect the budget at the cost of potentially the project, a piece of the project. Councillor Randhawa, you had a question.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, a couple questions already been answered, timeline thing, but one question. So until our paving start, do we have plan for like our tools fix, like 1 East 11, Hayes Cove, 7 East. So until paving start, we have planned for anything. So make sure those potholes we look after.
Director Pucci.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we actively do pothole repair ongoing every day. We have we go to 11th once a week and repair it. We go to 7th once a week and repair it. And then we have crews out with works every day to look for potholes and repair them. They are obviously showing up a lot and they keep presenting themselves with their weather, but we try and keep on top of it the best we can. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's important to emphasize because I know people are concerned as if nothing gets done on them. The problem is that you go out there and fix it, and people drive on it, and it gets wrecked again, and we go fix it, and it gets wrecked again. And we're all looking forward to pavement. We're all looking forward to pavement. All right, all in favor? I have a mover and second, all right? Yeah. Any opposed? Carried. We have a report from Director of Corporate and Legislative Services with regards to remedial action order updates, with a recommendation that Council receive the report for information. I note that it's rather lengthy. There are quite a few projects here that are a different state of action. So I'm certainly not going to read through them, but if you're a member of the public and you're interested in any of them, you need to get online and actually look at it, because there's at least, well, maybe close to a dozen of them. Can I have a mover for that recommendation, please? Councillor Cunningham, Councillor Adey. Any discussion? Councillor Randawa.
Just one question. Like I see when we did this last time, I see somebody trying to clean up there and then they stop. Like,
Yep.
What's happened?
Yeah. You might be thinking of this one on Sloan, which I think is on the list for later tonight. But Director Miller, did you want to comment on that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, the one, the most popular one at the moment is the property on Sloan, which is next on the agenda. The rest of the properties, we are following up with the property owners to ensure that they continue to comply, or we're happy to do it for them.
Councillor Cunningham.
I noticed on some of these that they're coming before council in August. Is that correct?
Director Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, that's correct. We have received at least one request for reconsideration, so we're pulling that information together and going over the information with the property owner before they attend to council in August.
Okay, and my other question is, although it's not on some of the remediation orders, is I've noticed some buildings still have plywood on their windows, and that goes against the bylaw of covering your windows. So, and some of these are active businesses that have covered up their windows with plywood. So what are we going to be doing about those, if anything?
Director Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Some of the businesses that are active businesses, we are working with them. There's a bit of a delay in getting the appropriate glass. So our officers have been following up with them to ensure that they remove the plywood and put windows back in. There's one in particular that's not an active business that is on the remedial action order list for this evening. And there's a couple in the report that we will be dealing with. And if they don't remove the plywood, then we will be happy to do it for them.
All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. Item number 7G is a report from Director of Corporate and Legislative Services with regards to a remedial action order for 1614 Sloan Avenue, with a recommendation, and it's lengthy, I warn you, that Council direct staff to proceed with the remedial action order, Section 73 of the Community Charter, whereby the City of Prince Rupert will proceed with the building removal located at 1614 Sloan Avenue, legally known as Lot 94, District Lot 1992, Range 5, Coastal District Plan 5478, PID 010453989, hereby known as the property, and the costs of the removal placed on the property taxes for the said property. And that Council directs staff to provide notice to the property owner in accordance with Section 77 of the Community Charter, and that Council agree that reconsideration of these orders may be made in writing within 14 days of the notice provided under Section 77 of the Community Charter, and that if no reconsideration notices are received within 14 days of the notice provided, staff are directed to proceed with the remedial action orders immediately as requested. Can I have a motion to that effect? Councillors Niche and Skelton Morvan. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. We then move on to item number 7H. It's another one of these reports from the Director of Corporate and Legislative Services with regards to a remedial action order for 232 3rd Avenue West. Recommendation is that Council direct staff to proceed with the remedial action order, Section 74 of the Community Charter, whereby the City of Prince Rupert will proceed with the building cleanup and repair located at 232 3rd Avenue West, legally known as PID 014-772-116, Lot 20, Block 19, Section 1, District Lot 251, Range 5, Coast District Plan 923, hereby known as the property, with costs of cleanup and repair placed on the property taxes for the said property, and that Council directs staff to provide notice to the property owner in accordance with Section 77 of the Community Charter, and that Council agree that reconsideration of these orders may be made in writing within 14 days of the notice provided under Section 77 of the Community Charter, and that if no reconsideration notices are received within 14 days of the notice provided, staff are directed to proceed with remedial action orders immediately as requested. Can I have a motion to that effect? Councillors Randawa and Ady. Any discussion? Councillor Niche.
Just with this one not being a tear down, my question is, so if we remove the plywood, what is where do we take it? What level do we take it when it says repair the building? Are we putting all new glass in, new facade on the building to make it look appropriate and then tacking that on? I'm just trying to understand how that process works.
Director Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We will clean the building, scrub it, repaint it if we need to. If the plywood that's on the front, we would have complete authority to remove the plywood and replace it with appropriate glass in order to bring it back to an appropriate state.
Councillor Cunningham.
One of the reasons some of these buildings have plywood on them because they've been vandalized, the windows have been broken, and things like this. If we take the plywood off, put new glass in, and that gets vandalized again, just a question mark.
Director Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That would be unfortunate. There's not a whole lot we can do about that other than continue to monitor and have the RCMP and bylaw do appropriate checks. But the fact of the matter is we can't have plywood lining the windows of the downtown core. It's against the bylaw and we will be removing them.
There you go. All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. We now move on to bylaws. We have City of Prince Rupert Official Community Plan Amendment Bylaw number 3541 with a recommendation that Council give third reading to the Official Community Plan Amendment Bylaw number 3541 2024. Can I have a motion to that effect? Councillors Skelton, Morvan, and Cunningham. This is the matter that, to put it in plain language, it's the Laqualams apartment that would see an amendment that would allow going up to 6 stories in the across from the Overweighty parking lot. Any discussion? Councillor Cunningham.
To take a page out of Councillor Ady's book, were there any letters sent in or phone calls in regards to this?
Director Miller.
Thank you. No, we have not received any comments in the positive or the negative with respect to this building.
Thank you. All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. Next up is the City of Prince Rupert Officers Bylaw number 3544 that Council give fourth and final reading to the City of Prince Rupert's Officer Bylaw. Can I have a motion to that effect? Councillors Randawa and Ady. This is the one that gives the power to appoint everything from the city manager, the corporate officer, the chief financial officer, and their powers and duties. All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. We have the City of Prince Rupert authorized signatories bylaw number 3545 with recommendation that City of Prince Rupert give fourth and final reading to the signatory fourth and final reading of the City of Prince Rupert authorized signatories bylaw number 3545. Can I have a motion to that effect? Councillors Adey and Randawa. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. And finally, we have the Northwest BC Funding Agreement Reserve bylaw number 3547. This is the one that we talked about earlier. The council introduce and give first, second, and third readings to the Northwest BC Regional Funding Agreement Reserve bylaw number 3547. Can I have a motion to that effect? Councillors Skelton Morvan, Councillors Cunningham. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. That takes us through to the end of the business piece. Council, it is your turn if you have any comments that you'd like to make at this point in time. Councillor Cunningham.
Okay, actually three things. The first is I'd like to thank Civic Pride again for cleaning up from City Hall all the way down to Overweighty in the back alley there on the weekend. They had volunteers out to do that. Positive Prince Rupert, Chantel Morgeson, Megason and that. And it was brought to my attention earlier today that, I would consider him a rock in the community. He was a former councillor, I think, for at least 3 terms. Paul Kennedy died on the weekend. And I think it's, he contributed a lot to the city in a lot of different ways as a vet, and just in different volunteer groups and things like that, as well as I used to think of him long before I was on council as a fiscal person that watched every penny the city spent when we were in rough times and that, and did a very good job of doing it. So I just like to, condolences from council to his family and to Mr. Saka. That was his real relative through marriage sort of thing and that. So I think it's important we recognize the contributions he made to this city in that. And I should correct myself because I just looked at it. My notes when I was talking to Northern Health, the thing is willing to work with the community to support the community towards getting an MRI. And it's, as it was brought up in the conversation, right now it's in the dream stage, but it's a dream that will take at least 10 years minimum to come to fruition. So if we don't start it now, I think it's very important that we start it. And I just wanted to say that was the exact words that Northern Health is willing to work with the community and support it for an MRI, is exactly how it was said to me. And that, there's one of the things about an MRI is the space. And they're going to have to do an engineering study where they're going to put it up near the hospital, with the idea that within 15 to 20 years, hopefully we're getting a new hospital anyway. So anything they do now has to be looking towards the future that, this has to be incorporated in new design if and when we get it, because I think Smithers is the next one, and then Hazelton jumped ahead of us on the list, if I remember correctly. So we're down the road a little bit. So they haven't even started a business plan on ours yet. So it'll be 5 years away before they start that. So, and Mayor Pond sits on the the Regional District Hospital Board with me, and he's been involved in these conversations, and we're trying to get us back into the second slot. But that said, that's all I've got to say.
Any other comments from council? Councillor Forster.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Sorry, I didn't know Dr. Kennedy had passed away, so my deepest condolences to the family and to everybody that knew him. I did want to talk a little bit about the Civic Center. I've received, as I'm sure many other people have, a lot of phone calls from people in the community confused why the hours changed. From my understanding, there are staff available, so it's not a lack of staffing challenge. So I'm just curious if I can understand a bit more why that change was made, and if there's a way that it could be changed back. I know a lot of young people that I personally have encouraged. I do a fair bit of outreach with at-risk and marginalized youth. And one of the things that has been encouraged to them is to go to the civic center or the pool instead of engaging in other activities. And so I'm just curious if I can understand why that's not a safe place for them to go because it's closed.
We just happen to have the director of recreation here. Come on forward, Dr. Buchan, with your
Oh, perfect,
permission.
perfect.
Great, thank you, Your Worship, through to Councillor Forster. So it is actually due to staffing. We are short on staff, and seasonally, the summertime is the time that we do shutdown and repairs and all of those kind of things. So we've also seen decreased numbers in terms of trending for the seasons as well. So we've had an opportunity to look at our schedules. We've actually just recently hired a staff that is currently doing and undergoing some training. So I am excited to announce that we are going to be opening for August. So at the front side, what we try to mitigate is the cancellations and constant cancellations. And so by doing so, July is the time we do the gym repair. So the gym's actually closed anyway for 2 weeks because we do the annual maintenance of floor stripping and waxing. Then we move on to the pool, to the pool. So then we are shut down from the pool from August 12th to September 3rd. And so between all of these hours and all of our facilities, we're actually open from 6:30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. every day between the pool and the Civic Center. And so we've actually had an increase in hours and demand and capacity on the pool side. So we actually opened hours on the pool side to accommodate that increased demand. So where we've seen increase in one area and decrease in the other, we were mitigating those pieces. Now we have just recently hired. Postings have been underway for the last 4 weeks. And we're taking the time to do that staffing and adjustments. So they will be opening on Wednesday and Thursday till 9 p.m. at the Civic Center. And so we're going to see how that goes. Last summer, there was only 3 days as well. So it's not too different. So we will be making those adjustments, and it was based around capacity.
Director Forster.
Thank you,
Forster.
Mayor. That's okay. Thank you very much. I wonder how I missed on the website that there was repairs happening in the gym. Is there a place I should have looked that I didn't?
Yeah, Your Worship, through to Councillor Forster. Those postings had been out through our social media channels. So that's our primary way that we activate community messaging. That's a great addition we can have. Our communication manager comes back into the office on Thursday, and so we can get that added onto the website in addition to the social media as well. We had sent sort of a pre-note kind of coming out in spring, in April, May, saying, hey, these are the dates coming, and then posting closer to the date so people can actually see what those are. There's postings on the doors as well, so when people enter, they have that. It's on all of our correspondence that we've had up for the last couple of weeks.
Thank you. Thank you, through the mayor.
Excellent. Good. Thank you very much. Oh, sorry. Councillor Cunningham.
Well, we have the director here. Through the mayor. Boy, that's impressive. Are you impressed? First time I've gone through the mayor. Is it possible, the auditorium smaller than the gym, that you could leave the auditorium open for basketball? Because that seems to be the main concern. Kids come for drop-in basketball. So I'm just wondering, one, because it's a smaller area, I don't know if it would use less staff or not, but it would leave that segment of recreation available to kids at night for the time. You know, it's got the court and rims and everything in there. So it seems to be the one segment that is more concerned about it being closed that I've got anyway from people phoning me is basketball. I don't know the numbers or anything. Maybe it's only 4 or 5 people because I've only got 4 or 5 phone calls. But you don't know. Like, 4 or 5 people phone you. There might be another 20 that just go, oh, damn it, and give up. But it's just something I thought, because if you're repairing the gymnasium, it's just across the hallway, and anyone coming there could be redirected into the auditorium.
Go ahead.
Your worship, through to Councillor Cunningham, that's an opportunity we can look into. So the way I understand, when they do floor stripping, they do it all. So they do both at the same time. I'd have to check back in with our operations team at the Civic Center to see if they can maybe stagger it or have an opportunity to do that possibly in the future. I'm not sure what's involved in the work, the machinery, the stripping, and sort of the logistic details involved with that. I know what in the past, from my experience, usually everything's done at once, so that way you maximize staffing time and stay on budgets appropriately. But certainly that's something we can connect into once my operations, in terms of the custodian team, returns from vacation. I can look into that and get an answer for you.
Thank you. Thanks very much. All right, that's it. I think that's it. Any other comments from council? Just before we close up there, I've got a couple of comments. I too want to give my condolences to the Kennedy family. I served on council with Paul. I think 2 terms, actually. I served with Paul. And he almost always topped the polls. He was very popular. When you look after everybody's pets, you tend to get a lot of votes. But he was a very, very strong Rupert booster, and it's sad to lose him. I want to just comment on a couple things that I've been up to and that we've been up to. As was covered by the newspaper, I was at the signing ceremony. Councillor Cunningham came up with us to sign that RBA agreement. And the only reason I go over it again is just to emphasize the comment that was made earlier. It's a huge amount of money. It's a huge gain. It's 10 years of labor by multiple councillors and councils and mayors and regional district chairs, and came very close a couple of years ago. Everybody thought they had it, and it slipped out of sight. Came really close to losing it again this time, but managed to hang on to it. But what the magic to it is that it is every year for 5 years, and it is absolutely our intention to, one, demonstrate real responsibility with that money. That money is not being given by the province so that we can lower taxes and look good. It is to do things we couldn't have done otherwise. And so we need to make sure that we and our comrades in other municipalities also spend that money as responsibly and wisely as we can, and then tell government all about it so that they know that it's really being put to good use. Because we want to go back. And the way this thing works is we've only got less than 4 years now before it ends, because it ends in April of the final year. And so we've got less than 4 years to A, convince the government that it's a good thing that they did it, and B, convince them they need to sign up for more for longer, right? And this is how the Peace River deal started. And the Peace River deal currently generates for Dawson Creek, which is about our size, around $12 million annually. So we celebrate 6.8, but we got a ways to go till we're satisfied. But anyway, so I just want people to understand that money isn't to create some kind of tax holiday. If we were to do that, it would be yanked, and we would not see any money going further in the future. This past week, several of us were in Vancouver to meet with Air Canada. And we had a very constructive meeting with Air Canada to discuss with them how we might persuade them to get to a second or even a third frequency in and out of Prince Rupert. And there were certainly no commitments made, but I'm very thankful that Alta Gas attended the meeting with us. And so they, as a representative of a large major project, were able to kind of give some numbers of what they're doing and give an indication of what other things are happening in Prince Rupert and why Air Canada might want to do that. The challenge that the airline industry faces, Air Canada in particular, but the industry more broadly, is they lack the resources. It's not like they can just go get another airplane and crew it. They can't. They have a limited number of crew, and young people, they tell us, and I don't doubt it, aren't going into the aviation profession in the numbers that they used to. And so they're finding it really hard to recruit flight crew. And so literally what it means, there's only one way that we get another frequency, and that is they take it off of some other route. And so we have to persuade them that they can do better flying here than wherever it is they might be taking it from. So we're working towards that end. And then finally, I just want to comment on the task force that was struck with Northern Health. It's early days, but it around recruitment retention for healthcare professionals. But we've already entertained one new doctor into the community. It was a huge success. I want to give a shout out to a couple of members in particular of the committee, and that is Sharon Stromdahl and our own Director Miller, who are putting together all sorts of events. The young doctor that was here, had lunch with the mayor and had a port tour and went on a grizzly bear adventure and I can't even remember what else, barbecue and just basically trying to understand who they are, what they like, and how we can get them introduced in the community in a way that that makes them land better. And that's just the very beginning of it. There's a lot of exciting work that's being done around that, but in the middle of a crisis, which is where we're at, to see some positive steps forward, it's kind of encouraging, and I want the community to take some encouragement from that. It's not the final solution to everything, but it's a huge step in the right direction. And Councillor Cunningham.
The two you mentioned are very important, but I think we should also mention the fact that Councillor Adey has been front and center on that committee, along with Jesse Sales. I sit on it in a very minor role, but Councillor Adey is just doing the minutes and things like this. He gets them out the next day. It's quite impressive. I think he's put a lot of time and effort into it, and I think he should be recognized for it. It's something that I know you and I are there also, but he's the one working with the. It's been so long since I've been on that committee, I forget the name of it. Healthy Communities,
Yeah.
And works with Jesse Sales, the new director of hospital services at the Prince Rupert Regional District Hospital. But yeah, it's quite an impressive array of what's going on, and how I made the barbecue with that doctor, and it was very interesting. And Director Miller brought her son and husband, and it was quite impressive. The doctor looked younger than her sons.
He was actually, yeah. Anyway, I appreciate that, and I absolutely agree. Councillor Adey's doing a bang up job there. So a little ray of sunshine in the middle of what has been a challenging situation. And with that, Council, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Councillors Randhawa, Councillor Adey, any discussion? What? Yeah, adjourn back to a closed council meeting. We will resume the closed council meeting. All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. We will take a 5-minute